Hi, I'm Brainard Carey, and today I want to talk about an important aspect of the art world that you may or may not be using, but it's residencies. I want to talk about why residencies are important and what they are, and also how to know if you're looking for a good one or not, right? So residencies are for most artists, and I'm talking internationally because residencies are an international phenomena. They happen all over the world and in almost every city that there is. Residencies are a way of artists getting support from curators and other artists. And this is how they work. Initially, you apply to a residency, and that means there's some kind of an application. The application should almost always be free. You should never be paying a fee, or very, very rarely. But essentially, the application should be free. You fill it out. They're asking usually about what you want to, what you're working on, what you're making, what you might want to do with the residency, and then you apply. If you get into the residency, it's at a certain time of the year, and I know, I'm recording this, in the end of the pandemic, or what we assume is the end of the pandemic. So residencies, while they have been online, are all opening up. These are physical places you travel to. So after you apply, and let's say you get into the residency, you go there, or in many cases now it is still online, but the idea and ideal is to go there. And let's say it's in France, or it's in the US, or it's in Canada, or it's in Germany, or it's in the Middle East, or somewhere else in Asia. The idea is that you go there and you simply have a studio and you work, and they pay for your studio and they pay for you to work there. It's not a real income earning position to be in a residency, but it does mean that you shouldn't lose money doing it. That there should be a stipend for you to stay there, and that there should be a decent studio for you. Sometimes now residencies even accept families. If you have a partner and children, often you can bring the children and the partner to some residencies because they understand that's part of artists' life. So again, why are residencies important? Because a lot of people feel like, well, I'm working, I can't leave, or I can leave, but is it really helpful to be on a residency? Yes, a residency is very important, and almost every successful artist that has some kind of reputation globally, worldwide, has been in residencies. And residencies enable that because this is what happens at a residency. You go there, you're with a community of artists, but you have your own studio to work and do what you like with. There are usually meals there that are served, and whatever you need is provided. Some of them, you have to pay for some extra things you need, supplies and things, but often if they have printmaking or sculpture facilities, this is all included and should be included. So you go to the residency, you have your studio, you fly there. They most also pay for flights. You fly there, and or if you're in Europe, you can drive, bus, train. Same with the United States or Canada or other places in the world. But you get to the residency, you have your studio, you set up your studio, you begin working on whatever you feel like working on. And the idea is that you're meeting other artists, and those other artists have, in some part, what you want to be part of, which is a community. Those other artists are probably have been in other residencies around the world, and that's what makes knowing them very valuable in terms of the information. So not only are you in a community of supportive artists, but you're also learning from those artists because they'll tell you, I went to this residency and it was fantastic, and they name some that you could apply to. Or I went to this other one, it was awful, I couldn't sleep there. You'll hear stories like that. But what's important is meeting those artists and that community. And what's very important is that there are curators that come through that residency. Because the idea of residencies and the people who start these residencies is to give visibility to artists, right? To give them help and support. And one of the ways they do that is they have curators come. And the curators come usually towards the end of your residency, and they come to your studio and they talk to you about your work. They look at what you're doing. And if they're interested, they may put you in a show. But even if they don't put you in a show, you're doing something that's essential. You're having a studio practice that's somewhere interesting in the world, and you're having curators come in and look at your work, and you're getting practice talking about it. because it's not easy to talk about your work, or when a curator says, what are you working on here, or what is this about? You can do it, but it takes practice. So the idea is that in a residency, you meet curators, you meet artists, you meet people who could help you with connections in the art world. You understand a little bit about the global conversation that's happening in the art world. These kind of conversations, and by that I mean, what people are talking about, and it may be anything from social justice to figurative painting or abstract work. There's all kinds of different conversations happening about different types of work that's being produced. So that's what's important about these residencies. And you'll find that if you don't want to travel too far, there are probably residencies around you. They're all over the world. But there are many artists who live almost a nomadic lifestyle, going from residency to residency to residency. I'm not suggesting that you do this, but I know that there are artists who do that. They regularly move from residency to residency. Once they've gotten good at applying, and once you've been in a few, it's easy to get more because there's lots of them in Europe. And that's where it would be easy to travel. But for the purpose of this video and what I'm talking about, I just want to say that residencies are important. I want to give a little illumination about what residencies are. They're essentially a time for you to, a month or 6 weeks or longer or a little less, but it's time for you to have to yourself to work on your work in a studio that's your own in another country. And the most important thing is that curators and artists and others come into your studio and you talk about your work and you become part of a community of artists. You become part of a global community of curators, of people that know your work. And it's very powerful. It's very powerful to do this. So I'll put some links in here below of a place where you can look at global residencies. It's Artist Res is what it's called. There are other places, but I'll put 2 in here. Rivet is another one. And look around. Look where you want to travel to, and you'll see if there are applications now, they may say it's a hybrid, or some of it's travel and some of it's not. But take a look, because these are all opening up, and this is the world that everybody's excited about. The world of travel, the world of meeting other artists face to face, the world of meeting curators, and so don't hesitate to ask any questions here. But I hope you'll consider applying or just looking through this, because it's a wonderful kind of fantasy just to entertain. Where do you want to go in the world? What interests you? There are residencies in Iceland. There are residencies all over the world. So you may want to be in an exotic place, and this is one way of getting there. So I hope this was helpful, and I wish you well with your art practice, and I wish you well with applications for residencies.